All right, greetings everybody. It is news day here for JP as well for Global. Going to keep them separate as is the usual thing lately, just so that, you know, people who want to click on one can click on one, people who want to click on two are the best people in the world, and the people who click on zero, well, they'll never hear this, so I can just say that they are poople pants, butt faces that drink from the toilet. And it's okay because they'll never hear it unless you tell them, in which case, shit. Okay. Excuse me. Clearing my throat for just 1 second. Right, sorry about that. I don't know where that came from. Like, sometimes I just don't get that kind of raspy thing in my voice until I start recording, which is very annoying. This new vision card coming to JP this week is yet another of the gun-based vision cards, which at this point, you know, it makes sense given the number of range characters that have been coming out. That's basically the major time that we see these. But I have to say, from a personal perspective, I am a little tired of gun and ranged characters just a bit. I know it's a little weird given that all the swords that we get, but I've kind of been having a little bit of this fatigue of just overindulgence into certain damage types for a while that don't particularly well support other groups. And that does feel like the story that we're seeing again here. So the blonde vision card, yes, that's what I'm going to call it from now on, is for greatsword, bow, guns, and gloves. A good grouping that makes a lot of sense with the more recent characters that have come out. But again, you know, I'm kind of over it at this point. We're looking essentially at shooting attack up, luck up, type chain resistance increased, and for duels only, physical attack, human killer up. As for the granted effect, it will be attack power as well as increased resistance to single target attacks. And for mastering the vision card for duels only, Earth attribute attack up by 2, AP consumption rate down by 5. So here's the big question that I'm going to answer in this next little bit, which is, do I expect this to make a big difference to what I am kind of seeing right now? Is the gunner-based thing that is happening, like, so far, I still haven't seen much evidence of the new faucet being used too terribly much in Earth. I really haven't seen her outside of essentially gun-based groups, which makes sense because a lot of maps right now are kind of flat to give a benefit to those type of characters for a bit. Which is all well and good, but in the long run, given that maps can be quite nasty for gunners, I don't know how particularly excited I am. And in terms of what faucet was generally good against from the evidence that I've seen versus what she's struggling against, here's the question. Is this VC going to make a shitload of difference? I mean, it certainly is nice for that kind of PvP stuff for duels, because you are getting physical human killer, which is essentially just more damage, which is nice for killing off your opponents. But faucet and gunner based parties were already doing really well against parties that were out there, and I don't think that this VC really adds much except potentially a alternative away from a lot of time limited VCs, which is good. It's all well and good for the average consumer, but at the same time it's not incredibly exciting. And if you look at where this is, what they were really losing to, and I mean this, what they were really losing to, they were hard losing to evasion, and I mean by like a significant amount hard losing to evasion. They were losing to status effects, and they were losing to pure elemental based teams, and that isn't particularly encouraging towards the idea that like the shooting team is going to really have that great of a long run, because it's already benefiting off of the exact maps that it wants, as well as a lot of new vision cards. So I don't think that this is particularly that great. Luck up does help versus the evasion, but it's not a primary statted luck up. It's just shooting attack up, which again doesn't seem to be the problem. Either this team of gunners does incredibly well or doesn't. And I don't think that the, like, I'm going to put a tank in front of the 2 gunners is particularly the answer, and a healer definitely isn't the answer. So at this point, this VC is a nice thing for those of you trying to complete your pure gunner based dreams that you have, and you don't have some of the other VCs that have come out during time limited events, either because of resource starvation or, you know, just shit luck, because that happens to all of us, or most of us at least. I don't think that this VC really changes the conversation in terms of performance. It's nice, but it really doesn't feel like it's going to make that big of a difference. Like, even if you want to consider the fact that this is another luck up base VC for essentially gunner based parties, like, the evasion type is already stacking enough luck that I just can't see it being that big of a difference, because you're either pushing hard on accuracy, which is, from what I've seen, not great for the DPS against those evadey type characters. And again, we're just like, it's so much gunner all at once. It's not like a reasonable amount, like a couple of gunners and then kind of fading off a little bit. It feels like the big push in on gunners. And the question I have at this point is, how many more gunners are we going to get this year? How many more bow units are we going to get this year? Or is this the deluge before it just completely dries up for the rest of the year with spears and other weapon types? I'm just saying that I'm not the most, how would I even say this? But it depends on a lot of things. So I'm just going to say that I'm not, I think this is a nicety in the permanent pool, but not much else. All right. Now I can talk about the actual next thing, which is just Character Quest 2, Character Quest 3, and some 6-star weapons. So I didn't talk about this at the beginning of the month because producer letters are essentially garbage now. They don't really tell us anything. As a matter of fact, they tell us a lot less of things now and are just kind of not very interesting anymore. So Lucio the Radiant shadow links with the Crystal Bow and Moon Fist Kiton. Kitane, if you prefer. I really love the pronunciation of Kiton, but nobody else likes that. So basically, that's what we're looking at Character Quest 2's. Free upgrades, sure, 50 lapis a piece. Why not if you have them? And I guess this means that probably we're going to see a repeat of this banner for these characters, but is this going to make a huge difference? Can't imagine so. None of these characters are remotely good, and probably like Shadow Lynx is the most criminally underrated. So maybe they make a mistake and just over indulge on her upgrades here, but that would just be kind of balanced to where she probably should have been in the first place. As for Character Quest 3, Oberyn, which is always a great thing. I'll never say anything bad about that. We also have Deirdre and, Dorido. Dorido, as well as Preen and Shadow Lynx. Character Quest 3s, I'm just not super excited about because they are so focused on certain content, and either they're going to be useful for you or they're not. And I don't think there's really much point in speculating at this junction either. As for the 6-star weapon, looks like the Army Plate is going to be getting its 6-star, and that actually goes into what we're going to talk about next, which is we have 2 other things. A raid boss revival coming to JP, which is basically, hey, you're missing a piece of equipment, you want to farm something, there you go, you can do that. Cool. Taking the briefest of a look, I see the Black Tortoise ring, and for this time, Glacial Bird, Omega, Algion, and Leviathan. So that's a pretty good mix of damage types that you can go against. There's like slashing, or 2 slashes, a shooting, and a pierce. That feels pretty good with the amount of the types of characters that have come out recently. So cool. And then we have the Evil Grass Extermination Quest. That's right, your ass may be grass. So this is another farming quest, basically to get the plant repellent pendant. So another killer medallion. These should never be underestimated because they can and usually are used in trials down the road. They're quite nice for just quest-based stuff, not super nice. Unfortunately, this isn't the answer to X-Death because X-Death is classified as a humanoid and not a plant. The greatest tragedy in recent memory of Wotv. What you gonna do? But yeah, that is essentially what we are looking at for JP. So you can breathe a little easier there, X-Death, so no worries. Go back to thinking about the Void. Yeah, look at him, he's laughing away. It's a fine update. It's a little bit of a quiet update, but given historical trends, if this is the moment of quietness, then we're probably looking at another collaboration redo, or maybe even a brand new collaboration very, very soon. So, you know, hang on to your butts. Last year it was Fang. Who it'll be this year. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you later.